Next up, we have another candidate in that race. Here's host Lisa Marie Napoli with Democratic candidate Larry Barker.
I have with me here in the studio of WFHB, Larry Barker. He is currently Executive Director with the Monroe County Solid Waste Management District, and he is also running for Indiana State Representative, House District 46. So thank you so much, Larry, for being here, coming into the station to talk with us.
Thank you, Lisa, for this opportunity.
It's a real pleasure to meet you. And so let's just start with the most obvious question. Why are you running for office? Would you like to say a few words about that?
Well, let me give you a little brief history about myself. I'm married to Vonda Mills Barker, and we have two beautiful teenage daughters, Brianna and Cassidy. Most of you, as Lisa said, know me as the Executive Director for the district. I'm a retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel with 28 years of distinguished service, the son of a coal miner and a farmer. And I'll get back to this in just a moment. As Lisa said, why am I running? Well, as I travel across District 46, three main topics are foremost in the minds of the residents: jobs, educational funding, and their voice being heard at the State House. We've lost over 1,000 jobs here in District 46 during this past decade, while this administration pursues new manufacturing jobs just north of Indianapolis. I will lead the fight for a new kind of industry, green jobs. These are sustainable, good-paying, highly skilled jobs of the future. And you know, jobs and education go hand in hand. The current plan of sales tax-funded public education gets a D-F for dysfunctional. Private business has moved in and taken our tax dollars, around $9,000 per student, to start up charter schools. Now let's talk some serious cash here. $9,000 per student times 22,000 charter students, that's $198 million, Lisa. Can you believe that?
Indeed, that's big numbers.
Big numbers. $660,000 per public school corporation. And why am I telling you this? If you've looked in the papers the last week or so, you've seen where Richland Bean Blossom School Corporation has an $800,000 shortfall for the upcoming school year. Teachers were laid off, administration positions were let go, total was 25. As a retired lieutenant colonel and son of a coal miner and a farmer, I understand the value of hard work, honor, and integrity. I was the first of 11 children to graduate from college with a Bachelor's of Science in Education and the first to be a commissioned officer in the United States Army. And throughout my 28-year military career, leadership and problem solving were the footprints I left in 49 states and 2 third-world countries. You see, I was a coalition builder, working across party lines to get the job done. I'm no stranger to writing legislation. I authored several pieces of legislation to the U.S. Congress during my military career, which are now law. Just this year alone, I helped write a legislative amendment that went before the Indiana Senate and was passed. The very first piece of legislation I will submit will be to repeal language in Chapter 6 of Indiana Code 22-6 RTW. The second piece will be to reinstate public school funding to the 2008 school year levels using state sales tax methods. In closing, I'd just like to say this. You know, it's not about me. It's about you, your concerns, your children, your future, and your voice. There's a lot of hard work to be done at the State House. Elect a proven leader, one who has chartered the way for the last 28 years in the military and the last 8 years right here in Monroe County. I will work for you. If you get a chance, visit my website, www.barkerstaterep.com, and by all means, go out and vote, and on May 8th, elect a leader, Larry Barker. Thank you.
All right, Larry, thank you for that statement. I appreciate it. It gives us a very comprehensive view of your values, your concerns, and your background regarding the issues in your district. So for those who may not be familiar with District 46, it starts over toward Richland Township, which is west of Bloomington, moving through kind of Ellettsville, Spencer area, through the State Road 46 corridor.
The 46 corridor is what I've dubbed it as the 46 corridor, all the way from Bloomington to Terre Haute.
Okay, great. So that's the district we're talking about here. And so can you tell me, let's talk about that district for a moment in terms of your constituents. What kind of area is that, and how will you best represent that district?
You know, Lisa, 46 is a semi-rural community, and that's why I resonate so well with them. Being the son of a coal miner and a farmer, I understand what they're going through over there. I also understand in the metro areas of Spencer, Clay City, Coal City, Terre Haute, and Brazil. I understand those concerns also by working here in Monroe County in Bloomington.
Okay, great. And could you talk about a little bit more about your background? You were in the Army for nearly 3 decades, and you said you're a son of a coal miner and a farmer, I think I heard you say. Could you talk about how that's impacted your approach to your political work by looking at your background?
Sure. And let's start back at the days of my dad being a coal miner. You know, I'm the youngest of 11 children. I know what it's like not to have anything. I know what it's like to cherish what you've worked hard for, because that's something that you can be proud of. My dad worked in the coal mines, underground coal mines in the West Virginia area, until his lungs was full of this black dust that he had while he was working, and they ended up calling it black lung. And that was due to the fact that there was no union support down there, and they just worked and worked and worked until they could work no longer. Then they just kicked them aside. We went into farming after that, and boy, do I know what it's like to be a farmer. 365 days a year nonstop, we had dairy farms, and we had to milk those cows no matter what. So I understand the hard work that my constituents in Owen, Clay, and Vigo County do. I really do. After I graduated from college, being the first, I was commissioned as second lieutenant in the U.S. Army. I was proud to be an Army officer, worked hard for my degree in education, and throughout my 28-year military career, I've traveled all over the United States. 49 states I have been in. And you know, one of my great jobs was being the professor of military science at a little university called Kent University in Kent, Ohio. And I really enjoyed working with those kids as they come into college. We had a question asked to us the other night over at a forum in Brazil, and they wanted to know why we have such a high dropout rate the first year in college. Well, you know, it's been that way for a long time. It's almost 50% or a little bit greater. And the reason being is these kids are coming to college, and they don't have mom and dad to get them up in the morning and get them on the bus. Now the responsibility is on their self to get up and go to class in the morning. And when they start cutting classes, of course, their grades are going to suffer. One of the programs we had in my program as a professor of military science was we had a mentorship program where the juniors and the seniors in our ROTC program mentored those freshmen, helped them with their schoolwork, got them up in the morning and got them to class. And you know what, Lisa? I had 0 of my freshmen drop out of college the first year. That's what it takes. It takes a little bit of working together with people to survive today.
Okay. And if you're elected, I know you talked about some issues that are important to you in your passionate intro statement that you gave us. What do you think is most pressing? Like, what would you put at the top there?
Wow, jobs and education go 1 and 2. I mean, they're hand in hand. Without good jobs, you know, your education suffers. Without good education, your jobs suffer. So those are hand in hand, jobs and education. What really gets to the core is, why are our public schools suffering with funding? You know, this sales tax plan of school funding is not working. Nobody is going back to the table and reevaluating the 1% that the governor said he was going to give the schools. Nobody's going back and reevaluating as to whether that's enough money or not. Well, I'm here to tell you, that's not enough money. Like I said, that's going to be one of my first pieces of legislation, is to go back in and bring that school funding back to the 2008 era. And why do I say 2008? Well, that's before the circuit breakers kicked in, you know, the 1%, 2%, 3%ers. That's before that kicked in. So schools had funding during those era. Today, they don't have the funding. So I'm going to go back after that. The second thing that's really on my heart is jobs. You know, if you look at the bookends of what we have here, we got universities on the east side with IU and Ivy Tech, and we got universities on the west side with Rose-Hulman, Ivy Tech, and ISU. We've got the smartest, brightest kids right here in District 46. But guess what? When they graduate from college, there's no jobs. They have to leave. Why don't we have jobs here? Why is this administration putting all the jobs north of Indianapolis? You know, there's green jobs, new technology, wind, solar, turbines, electrics, batteries. All of these jobs can be right here in District 46. What we need is a champion, somebody to step up to the plate and work with companies to bring them down here. We've got the infrastructure. We've got what they need. We've got the labor force. My goodness, the labor force is so strong down here. Now we need some jobs.
Okay. How will you continue to check in with your constituents and best solicit their feedback and try to engage them in these local issues?
That is a wonderful question. I've been waiting for someone to ask me that question. I'm going to tell you what I plan to do. I plan to have one evening a week at 5 different locations. And it's not going to be from 12 to 5. No, it's going to be whenever workers can get off, families can get off from 5 to maybe 8 or 9. I don't know. But we're going to be co-located with some sort of a government entity already to reduce the cost. But I'm going to be at each one of the 5 areas within the 46 corridor to meet with the constituents. What I found is these small group meetings, you actually hear what the people want and what's on the people's minds. And before legislation comes forward to be voted on, I'm going to go to the people and say, hey, this is what's out there. How do you feel about this? Let me break this down to layman terms. Let's get out of the legalese and let's get down to the layman terms of what this bill is going to do to you.
Okay. And what do you think sets you apart from other candidates?
Leadership. Leadership and the traits that I have that draw people to me. Whenever we just was in a session up in Indianapolis, and there was a bill called Senate Bill 210. I don't know if you watched or read it in the paper or not, but Senate Bill 210 was a bill sponsored by a Republican senator by the name of Beverly Gard. And Senator Gard was going in and taking away the funding authority for solid waste management districts across Indiana. 71 of us was going to be taken out of the funding stream. And we was told that, you know what, you really can't fight this in the Senate. You really need to let this bill go over to the House and then try to fight it. And I looked at the lobbyist, and that was Ice Miller and Barnes Thornburg. And I looked at them and said, guys, I can't do that. I really can't. Because I think we have the opportunity right now to tell our story. And one by one, Lisa, we pulled the senators out, one by one. You know, the total is 37 Republicans and 13 Democrats for the 50. So I needed 26 to kill the bill. I needed enough to kill the bill. One by one, we pulled them out. When it come down to the actual last day of voting, the reds and the greens started coming up, and I looked, there were my 13 Republican senators voting no to kill the bill. How did that happen? We was able to work across party lines. Like I said in my opening statement, 28 years in the military, working in 49 states and 2 third world countries, working across party lines to get the job done. That's what I'm saying, is I have that ability to bring people in, sit down and discuss the issues and get them to see where it's actually wrong on their perception, and then we can talk and make it better.
Any closing thoughts you'd like to share?
The most important thing that's coming down the pike is we got $500 million that just magically appeared again. And accountability is so important to me. You know, my integrity is non-wavering. I learned that in my 28 years in the military. Integrity means something. Accountability means something also. To come up with $500 million out of the clear blue, something's wrong. I will ensure that every penny of taxes that you pay go to the appropriate agency they're supposed to go to, and we have accountability, and you will get the report as to where your tax dollars went. That's a promise I make to you please, on May 8th, go out and vote for Larry Barker.
That was Lisa Marie Napoli interviewing the District 46 Democratic primary.